Welcome friends. So in last lecture we have seen what is entomology, what is insects, the examples of the insects, body segmentation of the insects like head, thorax and abdomens, all that things we have seen. As well as we have seen the role of insects in agriculture and some history of in the insects in the very shortly. But this lecture we are going to see the different insects and their roles in agriculture, means what they have particular role in agriculture. So in very first point you have seen herbivorous insects damage 18% of the world agricultural production. For example, insect pest, cotton bollworm, tobacco leaf eating caterpillar. Herbivorous insects means those insects that is totally depend on the crops, means they are very dangerous or damaging to human. Okay, means crop. So they have 18% loss caused by the herbivorous insects. So this is the role of their damaging in the agriculture. So we have to study then how we can control these insects. In next point, around 72% of the world's crops are dependent on the insects for the pollination. For example, solitary bees, bumblebees, flies, beetles and butterflies, and in several crops, wild bees species. Also, 72% insects are used for the pollination. Means 72% are totally insects, those are useful for the pollination, and pollination is a best process for food production. So insects are very useful for which is have the pollination property. Example is solitary bees, bumblebees and honeybees. Okay, simply honeybees is very important for pollination. The next point is some insects are also important in improving agricultural soil. For example, dung beetles increases nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium and magnesium or total proteins content which significantly elevate the yield of wheat plants relative to chemical fertilizers. Some insects are damaging, that is 18% damage. Some are very useful for as a pollinators for pollination. Some insects are soil borne or soil enhancing property bearer. Okay, so those insects are soil enhancers like dung beetles. They increase the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, calcium as compared to chemical fertilizers. So in next points, some insects can be used as a biological control. Biological control means use of the one organism to control the another organism. Here in insects, some insects are useful for the controlling the different insects. For example, ladybird beetle. Uh, ladybird beetle that feeds on the aphids. Aphids is also dangerous or destructive insects which is very small or sucking pest insect. Okay, so this is controlled by the ladybird beetle. After that, Trichogramma species, this is a parasitoid or wasp that is useful for the destroying the eggs of the rice stem borer. Rice stem borer is a insect pest of rice. Okay, also some insects are acts as a natural indicator. For example, dragonflies are used as a natural indicators. You can see where is uh, very fresh environment, dragonflies are very most. So whether there is a fresh environment, dragonflies are also there. Some flies or house flies, when there is a bad environment, flies are also there. So these are some insects which are also acts as a natural indicators. So this is the cotton bollworm in very well first lecture, that is the herbivorous insects. Okay, this is the eggs, larva or caterpillar. After that, larva becomes pupa and moths or butterflies emerged out. Okay, after that, tobacco leaf eating caterpillar. Same insects have the, or all insects have like this stage: eggs, their caterpillars, after that pupation stage and adult stage. Okay, Now third one is a bumblebee. It acts as a pollinator. After that, honeybee is also acts as a pollinator. This is the ladybird beetle. It acts as a biological control. It's the image that you can see very well. It is a aphids eating, or aphids are devouring by the ladybird beetle. After that, in it is a trichogramma. This trichogramma insects lay their eggs in the insect paste of the this type of the lepidopteran insects. So as well as you can see, this is the eggs of the first image. You can see means lepidopteran pest are controlled by the this type of the parasitoid, that is trichogramma. Then it is a dragonfly, it's a damselfly, and it is housefly. Now the history of the insects. There are a lot of mentions about the insects in our mythological epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which is mentions about the silk, honey, and the lag were found in these epics. Ramayana and Mahabharata, the kings wore silken cloths because they have the great knowledge about the silk insects. Honey, honeybee have different properties like honey, uh, propolis, wax, and it have also the main importance in Ayurveda. After that lags, you can see there is one story behind in Mahabharata, that is Lakshagruha, means they have the very huge knowledge regarding the lag insects. So they have very huge knowledge about the insects, means our history of the insects since from the mythology to the modern age, you can see it very well. The first detailed classification of the insects was done by the Umaswati. Okay, we have seen in the last lecture classification of the bees by the Indian physician, that is Charaka, and classification of ants, flies, and mosquitoes by the surgeon Sushruta, and are the evidences for our earliest knowledge about the insects. Means we have the very well knowledge about the insects from our traditions. Now in 1906, Indian Insects Based by Professor Lefroy. In 1909, Indian Insect Lives, Professor Lefroy given. In 1912, Plant Quarantine Act was enforced. 1921, Indian Central Cotton Committee to investigate on pests on or cotton, pests of cotton. Indian Central Cotton Committee to investigates on pests on cotton. 1925, Indian Lac Research Institute started. 1934, Hemsingh Pruthi. You can see it, Fundamental of Entomology given by the Hemsingh Pruthi. Okay, who succeeded the Fletcher as empirical entomologist, made efforts to bring all the entomological workers still closer, which results in the course name, that is Fundamental Entomology. In 1939, Locust Warning Organization was established. 1940, Dr. T.V. Ramakrishna Iyer published the book Handbook of Economic Entomology for South India. 1963, Textbook of Agriculture Entomology by H.S. Pruthi. 1968, Dr. M.S. Mani's General Entomology. 1969, Dr. Pradhan's Insect Pests of Cotton. 1946, Directorate of the Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage of Government of India started. In 1960, the desert locust in India of monograph given by the Y.R. Rao. In 1968, the Central Insecticide Act was passed in 1968 and come enacted in January 1971. 1969, the monograph on Indian Thysanoptera was published by Dr. T.N. Anantakrishnan. Thysanoptera means the insects act or insect present is a thrips. Okay, thank you. So this is the very great knowledge regarding the insects. We have seen about their roles in different ecological zones. Then some are pest or some are destructive, some are pollinators, some are soil enhancer, some are act as a natural indicator. So they have different various roles present in the insects. So this is the topic, or this is the lecture that we have seen in these slides. Thank you.